Hello there, you're welcome to the news on NTA International. I'm Lami Ali, and Shegun Ajayi is the interpreter for the sign language. We begin with the headlines. President Tinubu addresses joint Arab-Islamic Summit, seeks urgent end to Israeli Palestine crisis. Experts meet at COP29, fine-tune global action to check challenges of climate change. And Nigerian judiciary bids farewell to a core professional upholding the banner of justice and equity all his life. The extraordinary session of the Joint Arab-Islamic Summit is on in Saudi Arabia, where issues concerning Middle East, Israeli-Palestine conflicts and other global interests are on the table for discussion. President Bola Tinubu had earlier addressed the summit, where he presented Nigeria's position and called for action. Let's now join Musbah Wahab for a live update on the summit. Musbah.
And other leaders who are leaders of countries that are members of the Arab League and Organization of Islamic Cooperation too. I've been speaking, the presentations continue as we speak indoor at the hotel right here in Riyadh, and they have been looking for how to end the war in Gaza, particularly the war between Israel and Palestine. That exactly was what President Bola Tinubu also spoke to. His speech was direct to the issues, calling for immediate and unconditional ceasefire in Gaza, of course, a peaceful resolution, recognition of independence of Palestine as a nation that will encourage sovereignty, and of course, peaceful resolution and peaceful coexistence between Israel and Palestine. Those are the issues, and United Nations already suggested two-nation resolution, and this summit is also speaking in support of that. But specifically, President Bola Tinubu is also making a special request to this summit that a dedicated secretariat should be established that will be documenting resolutions coming from a summit like this, particularly a joint summit of Arab leagues and OIC member nations. So this, yes, if this secretariat is approved and established, President Bola Tinubu believes that this will be a kind of a step forward ahead of what has been happening in the past. Remember last year, this summit was held and resolutions were made, but little has been done or achieved from those resolutions. So President Bola Tinubu believes that if this secretariat, a dedicated one, is established by this organization, they will be able to monitor developments, monitor progress made as regards resolutions coming from this summit. So let's just take a listen to what President Bola Tinubu said at the summit still going on.
Your Royal Majesty, the two-state solution stands as a beacon of hope. I agree. Representing the right of both Israelis and Palestinians to self-determination and peace. It is not just a diplomatic article of faith. It is a vision grounded in principle of quality and mutual recognition. Achieving this vision requires a commitment to dialogue and deal-making in respect for history. We know this conflict did not begin in October 2023. It can only be resolved through principled compromise based on appreciation of the proper context. The conflict in the cradle of history is so visceral that the ripples of this division spread far and quickly. the corrosive impact of images of endless violence repeated on 1 billion smartphones around the world is huge. We need to find a new pathway to peace without delay. Nigeria has always championed the cause of peace and cooperation among nations. Our own experiences, domestically and regionally, have taught us that identity politics are no substitute for respecting the nuances of diversity. The path to reconciliation may be fraught with challenges, but it is through honest conversation and deal-making that we can foster understanding.
Remember, the present war in Gaza has been going on for more than a year, and of course, this summit has been speaking about how to end it, but for now they are saying the international community should go beyond just political and financial support to Palestine by going a step further to show commitment, not just by speaking, but bringing up actions to show that the international community is really committed to ending the war in Gaza between Israel and Palestine, and how to force Israel to cease fire immediately.
Now from Saudi Arabia, we move to Azerbaijan, where the Conference of Parties COP29 begins in Baku. For the next 2 weeks, nations will be focusing on climate finance and holding each other accountable for every action taken to limit or aggravate global warming. Our environment correspondent, Charles Alpha, is on the ground in Azerbaijan to tell us more about how the event is unfolding. Charles.
This is Eda Aliyev Stadium in Baku, where the annual international gathering of countries that are signatories to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change are camping in search of tangible solutions to defining issues of our time. Yesterday, delegates started arriving to get their registration done and get down to business. So about 198 countries comprising governments, businesses and civil societies organizations are here to push for a lot of things, and climate finance, among other things, will be the focus of a global climate action needed for Earth to stay well below 1.5 degrees Celsius. At COP28 last year, developed countries like France, the United States, China, Germany, oil-rich Saudi Arabia made huge financial commitment to the loss and damage funds. But the questions here will be how many nations have been able to access these funds. So one of the agreements reached at COP28 back then in Dubai was the fact that countries agreed that nations should strive to keep temperatures well below 1.5 degrees Celsius. But what happened last year, we also saw a situation where the month of July was regarded as one of the warmest months in the year 2023. But new data has now revealed that in fact 2024 will be the most warmest year in the history of mankind. And what it means is that nations here are going to be holding themselves accountable for every action taken to mitigate, to limit or aggravate global warming. Executive Secretary of the United Nations Climate Change, Simon Still, in his opening remarks this morning, said one single COP can't deliver the full transformation that every nation needs, but as they meet here in Azerbaijan, they will be hoping government, business and civil society organizations will strike a balance to deal with the extreme weather events we all saw this year. For Nigeria, the National Council on Climate Change Secretariat, before this COP, had engaged negotiators whom they believe can deliver on all fronts for Nigeria. All of this is tended towards having a concrete roadmap that will help mitigate the impact of climate change in not just Nigeria, but every other country, especially the developing countries. From Baku, Azerbaijan, Charles Alpha, NTA News.
All right, we still take you back to Charles again in Azerbaijan as he gathers opinions from nations on how far they have gone with last year's resolutions and what they expect from COP29.
At COP29 in Dubai, there were a lot of agreements that were reached, and one of those major agreements was to move away from fossil fuel to renewable energy and keeping the temperatures well below 1.5 degrees Celsius. And here today, I'm talking with some delegates from different countries on how far do they think their countries have come, meeting some of these targets, and what will be their expectations, from COP29.
Look for a nice future for everybody. We don't need to dream. We don't need to dream. We need to wake up. We need to wake up to look for a new world.
Country needs to do a whole lot more to have access to this international funding to enable us, access this funding to, tackle this effect of climate change in our country.
We hope that renewable energy will be put in the front.
That we can have positive agreements related to climate finance, principally.
Researchers say that we only have a couple years left to reverse climate change, or else it's going to be catastrophic. One study says it will have a collapse in global food security by 2030 if we didn't reduce emissions.
Principally for indigenous people and younger people, we are here to expect more financial to go to our country because we are vulnerable.
It is clear that one thing is on their mind, and how to be able to access this fund then that will help them fight climate change in their various countries. Some of them are actually saying that it is time to wake up and not dream anymore, and time now to take action. From Baku, Azerbaijan, Charles Alpha, NTA News.
Okay, joining us now to continue the conversation on the ongoing COP29 is the Director General, CEO of the National Council on Climate Change. She is also the Special Envoy to the President on Climate Change, Dr. Kiruka Mad. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us live from all the way from Baku, Azerbaijan. Thank you, NTA.
All right, now COP29 opens in Baku, as you just said, with focus on climate finance. Tell us how important is this to developing countries, especially Africa, that contributes less than 5% of global emissions?
As we have been saying, this COP is nicknamed the Finance COP because the idea is that at the end of this COP29, we should be able to finalize on Article 6. And I bring you good news because we've just finished the plenary where we first and foremost have adopted the agenda for COP29. And not only that, one of the very conversations at the forefront of the table is Article 6, concluding the ongoing conversations on Article 6 with regards to Article 6.2 and Article 6.4 as well. And for us as developing countries, as African countries, as Nigeria, you made impacts of climate change on our economy, on our livelihoods, on our persons. You're talking about resilience, adaptation. And one of the finance, you have seen that finance goes more to mitigation than adaptation. With adaptation, we're able to build on our already existing.
All right, we are having some challenge with the connectivity between Nigeria and Azerbaijan. We shall get back to Dr. Madwekwe when the network improves. Now, moving on to other stories. Minister of Trade and Investment, Dr. Jumoke Oduole, says the government of Nigeria is dedicated to enhancing digital infrastructure across all state parties, while emphasizing the importance of robust personal data protection provisions to foster trust and prevent cybercrimes and fraud. This was at the 15th meeting of the African Continental Free Trade Area in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Jumoke says Nigeria acknowledges the significant strides made with the protocol on digital trade, which offers pragmatic rules designed to drive digital transformation across the continent. She says the protocol is set to bolster the growth and utilization of African digital platforms and computing facilities by African-owned small and medium enterprises within state parties. The minister believes that the seamless operationalization of the new protocol will serve as a catalyst for economic development by increasing trade, creating jobs and reducing poverty, as well as optimizing the industrial structure of the continent. All right, we get back to Dr. Madwekwe for the continuation of our discussion on COP29. So, Doctor, tell us, before the Nigerian delegation departed for Azerbaijan, now your office engaged in different summits and intensive training for negotiations. We want you to tell us the Nigerian position in an attempt to attract more funding and green investments at COP29.
Okay, thank you so much. Before we joined as a delegation, like you said, we had the training for COP negotiators, where we were able to bring in negotiators from the subnationals and also the nationals to train them on what it is they're going to expect and how they should defend Nigeria's position. Nigeria negotiates as a bloc, and so we are part of the African group of negotiators. We're also part of the G77 and China. And our position remains that of Africa group of negotiators and also G77, which is raising the finance commitment to over 100 billion. And also for us, it's not just making those commitments, but like was said by the outgoing president, COP president, and incoming COP president, is to be able to move. It's for the countries to move their pledges from conversations to from words to actions, and that is what Nigeria is saying. Nigeria is saying, move what it is you have promised, move the pledges you've made. Let us see the money. Let us see you invest in our adaptation projects. Let's see you invest in our mitigation projects. And then also very much what Nigeria is also saying is we need to have this conversation, conclude this conversation on Article 6, so that we can kickstart our carbon market, which for us is looking at over $30 billion revenue, non-oil revenue that we need as a country as well. So Nigeria, the fact is finishing.
As we wrap up our conversation, because we don't have much time, what are your expectations at the end of COP29?
But thank you so much. For us, for COP29 is living here with a concluded framework for Article 6 so that we can kickstart our market. That's number one. Number two is having clear commitments, not just words, but actions, financial commitments from the developed countries, and also understanding that, yes, Africa, you talk about differentiated, common but differentiated responsibilities as well. And then also the fact that also training, yes, we had trained the negotiators, but strengthening their skills, because now they're going to have face-to-face interactions with what it is they have learned, but also coming back to Nigeria with a more strengthened negotiating team. Looking forward to COP30
Thank you so much, Dr. Madwekwe, for sharing those perspectives. We thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us. Take care.
This is news at 7 on NTA International. Time now to take a short break. Do stay tuned. Thank you for staying. 4 more Nigerians have won elections into various elective positions. A United States-born Nigerian, Dr. Oye Owolewa, District of Columbia, Chiakabari, Ginindera District, Australia, Shegun Adena, Georgia, USA, and Yemi Mobolade, Colorado Springs, USA. In a congratulatory message to them, NITCAM Chairman Abike Dabiri-Erewa hailed their victory as the polls for breaking such records in the political arena of their different places of residence and setting standards, while Dr. Oye Owolewa was re-elected as the shadow representative for the District of Columbia under the Democratic Party. Chakabari got elected into the Australian Capital Territory Legislative Assembly covering the Ginninderra district under the Liberal Party. Shegwadina was re-elected as state representative of District 110, Georgia, USA, and Adeyemi Mobolade elected as the mayor of Colorado Springs in 2023, making history as the first black person to attain such a feat. Now, the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, has awarded over $45 million to the Brilliant Consortium to implement a cooperative agreement under the HIV Vaccine Innovation, Science and Technology Acceleration in Africa, HIV Vista. The 5-year grant initiative, which enables 8 African countries to lead the research that will develop HIV vaccine to end the epidemic in the continent, has Nigeria as the only country among the 8 with a site for this trial. Basi Itaikbang reports that the HIV Vista study exemplifies the strength of global collaboration.
HIV, record shows, is still one of the world's health challenges. Without a cure or an effective vaccine, with an estimated 39.9 million people living with HIV across the globe in 2023, with Nigeria contributing about 1.9 million, making it the 4th largest HIV-burdened country globally. To end the HIV epidemic, experts say an effective HIV vaccine is required to be added to the known prevention tools to stop transmission. The brilliant study led by 8 African countries, including Nigeria, the Director General, NACA, observed is a step towards ending HIV in Africa.
The HIV Vista study is going to offer us hope for a vaccine that is tailored to the needs of our population. And Nigeria's involvement in this global initiative is very critical.
I want to advocate so that we really use this to build the capacity of Nigerians, young Nigerians, so who will stay and continue to use the platform for something.
The study will focus on utilizing existing capacity, scientific talent, and investment in research in sub-Saharan Africa to advance the HIV vaccine field.
Doing all the immune assays that would establish whether it is immunogenic, it is protective or not. We're having the technology to also test that it is safe within our population. All of that is going to be done in country in partnership with those that have.
This partnership with 8 African countries, experts say, acknowledges the potential of great innovation and science from Africa to solve global health challenges in the continent. Basi Taipang, NTA News.
The Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Kudirat Kekereekun, and the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi SAN, have extolled the judicial pronouncements of late retired Justice of the Supreme Court, Justice Olayinka Ayola, for upholding the banner of justice, equity, and fair play. This was at a valedictory court session in honor of the departed jurist held at the Supreme Court. Chukunonso Nwabweze reports.
The Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Kudirat Kekereekun, who led other justices of the Apex Court to the special court session, paid an outstanding tribute to the late Justice Olayinka Ayola, whose service to the nation's justice system remains a reference point to members of the bench and the bar.
The judicial pronouncements have deservedly occupied vital pages of law books across Africa. He was a quintessential judicial icon who bestrode the judicial landscape with honor and great panache.
The Attorney General of the Federation and Nigeria's Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi SAN, including the Chief Justice of the Gambia, Hassan Jallow, who was represented, lauded remarkable contributions of the late jurist to the promotion and preservation of the rule of law.
He ranked among the very few Nigerian judges that have shaped the course of justice beyond the shores of Nigeria and set many milestones in different fields of human endeavors. In all of these positions, he stayed true to his high standards, which he set for himself, and distinguished himself as a judge of great character with extraordinary commitment to the cause of justice.
He contributed strongly to consolidating the rule of law and the respect for human rights in those days when the Gambia's record in the field of good governance was widely acclaimed. He was a bright star in the chain of jurists who contributed to and enhanced the long tradition of the excellent judicial cooperation between the Gambia and the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
With over 5 decades of impeccable judicial career, late Justice Olayinka Ayola, a former chairman of the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, died on the 28th of August 2024 at the age of 90, having served at various judicial positions on the bench, culminating in his elevation to the Supreme Court in 1998. Between 1980 and 1999, Justice Ayola was seconded to the Gambia and Seychelles, where he rose to serve as the Chief Justice of the Gambia and President of the Court of Appeal in Seychelles. Chukunonsonwa Bueze, NTA News.
And here's a check on Tuesday's weather forecast. And that's the news at this time on NTA International. We thank you for watching. Shegun Ajayi has been the sign language interpreter, and I am Lami Ali.